Hello everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another envelope video here at my YouTube channel and blog. Yes, today I'm creating a mail art envelope. This is part of my mail art rainbow series that I'm sharing at Instagram. And today I'm going to be using some products from Altenew. I've got a stamp set and some paints, two different paint sets. And here we go. Because this envelope does have a lot of painting on it, I'm going to create it out of watercolor paper. Now, I haven't been able to find a watercolor paper envelope anywhere, so I'm going to make one using the We Are Memory Keepers 123 punch board. For a 5x7 card, the paper size they suggest is 9 7/8. I've got some watercolor paper here. This is Canson Foundational 90-pound watercolor paper, so it's not as thick as I usually prefer, but for an envelope, this is the thickness of paper that you want. So now I'm using the 123 punch board, and the reason why I use this punch board versus using the envelope punch board is that swing out arm right there, which you need when you're creating an envelope larger, anything larger than a regular A2 size. So this 5x7 card envelope is much larger, and I need that swing out arm so I can score all the way down. So I've lined it up at 4 and 5/8. I think that's what it was, or 3/4. I can't remember. But you line up with the measurement that they give you on the board, and then you punch and then score using that bottom score line. And then you just rotate and you find where that score line you just did kind of fits into the groove, and then you repeat the steps for all 4 sides. So this envelope is rather big, and I just received this Memory Misty in the mail, courtesy of Hero Arts, and so I thought I'd give it a try. I have yet to use a Misty that's this large, and I thought, what better time to use it than when I'm using this really large watercolor paper. Now, if you don't have a large Misty like this, you could definitely fold the envelope as if it was going to be closed up, but just don't adhere it yet. Using the Fabulous Florets stamp set from Altenew, and this one has some layering to it, so you can use some inks to have solid petals on your flower, but I'm not going to be using them that way today. Instead, I'm stamping them in Antique Linen Distress ink, and then I'm going to be painting them. And by using a really pale, kind of muted shade like this, you get a really cool effect. This is no line watercoloring, that's what it's called, and it just means that as you paint, the lines sort of disappear. That's why they call it no line watercoloring. And because the lines will disappear, I didn't bother masking all of these flowers as I let them overlap. The overlapping areas are going to be very minimally visible once I'm done painting. So I did mask off the bottom and the sides of the envelope as I was stamping, just to keep the flaps of the envelope clean, except for that top flap where my painting will extend. Using the Artist Watercolor set from Altenew, look at this tin that it's in, this palette. It's so pretty. I love that color. And there are 24 different colors inside. I did a little swatch chart so I have a reference, and we're going to get right into the painting. I've taped my envelope to a board, and I've also put some white cardstock down, kind of protecting the areas where I won't be painting. I'm going to be doing some splatter, and I also know myself as I get painting, I can get a little messy, and so I didn't want to have any paint on those flaps. So I'm going to be painting the flowers really simply, basically using a strong color near the center of the flower. And then I'm going to kind of clean off my brush to get it some clean water. And then I'm going to pull that color out to the outer edge of the petals. So this is a really easy way to do some watercolor painting. And I'm not being too fussy. I'm just going to go ahead and paint. I'm going to speed up the video process and turn on some music. And I'll catch you when all of the painting is complete. mentioned before, I did plan to do some splattering, and this second set of watercolors is the metallic watercolor set from Altenew. It has really pretty pearlescent metallic shades, and I'm using this gold shade, which you'll see again here in a minute. Once everything was dry, I took one of the very intense dark navy blues in the watercolor set, and I painted 3 stripes on my envelope. This is going to be where the mailing address kind of lands on the envelope. So I'm just kind of estimating the size that I'll need for the name and also the street address. And then I'm using that same gold shade that I used for the splatter on the painting. And I'm using a very small brush. I think this is a size 0 round. And I'm just using it to write on Tammy's name. Now, as per usual, Tammy did give me permission to use her address on a mail art envelope. So, no worries there. And if you would like to submit your address for consideration for a future mailer envelope, check the information below. There's a link. You'll be able to go fill out a form and submit your address. And just make sure you select that, yes, you give me permission to use your address. So I'm painting on her name, and I'm using the first line with her name is going to be much more bold than the rest of the address. I want her name to really stand out. And then when it comes to the street address and also the city and zip code and the state, I'm using just very simple writing. I'm just going to be doing some capital letters to keep everything nice and neat. And it also is a great way to, when you have a lot of words on your address, this is a way to condense them and make sure that the line doesn't get too long. So this envelope is going to South Carolina. So I'm filling in the zip code here. And one of the questions I get quite often about doing watercolor envelopes like this is, how do you protect it when you put it through the mail? And I'm going to show you in just a minute here what I do. In the meantime, I'm going to put my address on the flap, and I'm also going to put the postage stamps on the envelope as well. I'm using 2 forever stamps and also a little vintage stamp right there because it was the perfect color. I'm using some Express-It tape to adhere the envelope. I just put the adhesive on the bottom flap, and then I can fold up. And you want to avoid the pointed area of that flap because it will overlap. You'll see right here it overlaps. So you don't want to seal it closed yet. You just want to have the pocket of the envelope made. So this is how you seal up the envelope. You use Distress Microglaze, and you apply a thin coat over the entire envelope or wherever there's watercolor, and then it protects the surface from moisture. So if the envelope does get super, super wet, like it's dropped into a puddle, you might have some damage just because, I mean, it's paper and it's going into, it's being submerged into water. But for just regular day-to-day moisture, maybe it's raining when the envelope is being delivered to the recipient, anything like that, this will generally keep it pretty safe. You can see that even as I'm paper toweling off and kind of rubbing off the excess, that not much color is coming off. A little bit of color, but it's not even noticeable. It's not smudging over all that paint. And sometimes when I have a lot of paint, I worry. I'm like, oh no, is this Distress Microglaze going to smear or smudge? But it never does. It always works out great. So here's the envelope for today. Make sure you head over to my blog. This is actually part of a blog hop, and there's lots of giveaways, so make sure you check that out. There's a link down in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.